Welcome to the Sales Masters Roundtable, hosted by Shawn Casemore.
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Sales Masters Roundtable. I'm your host, Shawn Casemore, and today we have the good fortune of being joined by James Goodman. James, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
That's excellent. Well, listen, James, as I mentioned kind of in the preamble, we'll jump right into some questions that I'd like to ask of everybody just to get a sense of the different people, their experiences. So for you, James, what was your first job in sales that you ever had or that you recall?
So I guess I have two thoughts on this. First off, I think that everyone is a salesperson. It's selling things on Marketplace. It's a job interview. It's trying to convince my children to literally do anything. There's so many interactions and mini negotiations we have every day where we're selling. So people maybe sometimes have a stigma about salespeople, but really we're all salespeople sometimes.
Yeah.
So for me, I always loved interacting with people. And I think I was a salesperson going back to my first job in high school, working at the local grocery store. Now, to what I suspect your actual question is, my first professional sales position was with Imperial Oil. I was based in Grand Prairie, Alberta. And what did I love about it? I think I enjoyed the freedom. I made my own schedule. I was working from home. I was traveling around. I was on the road. I was meeting new people, seeing new places, learning new things. I knew what needed to be done, but it was up to me to figure out how to do it.
Well, and there must be something with those of us who work in a grocery store at a young age, because I was the same. At 14, I started working in a grocery store, and I loved it. I stayed there for 6 years. But you do learn a lot about dealing with different kinds of people, different kinds of personalities, people that are upset, and how to kind of manage that. I remember, you'd pack back then. We packed groceries, so you'd stand at the end of the line and pack them for people. Some people were very particular about where you put their eggs.
Yeah. That's true.
So today, obviously, you're leading a sales team. What inspired you to want to move from being more that individual contributor in sales, where you're just worried about yourself, to leading a team?
Yeah, so there's a big difference between being a manager and being a leader. So in my opinion, being a manager is mostly an administrative role. You're reviewing expenses, you're approving vacation, you do a lot of reporting, a lot of stewardship. But being a leader is different. You need to inspire people. You need to help them. You need to coach them. You need to guide them. Yeah. And people often know the answer or what they need to do, but they just need a bit of reassurance. So they want to talk it through. So they need to be celebrated when they win. And sometimes people need a bit of tough love. So once I had some success early in my sales career, I started establishing my own style. I took it upon myself to take more of a leadership role on the sales team that I was part of. Yep. And I felt like we were a team. I felt invested in others' success. I wanted them to win. I had a lot of ideas and opinions. I wasn't afraid to speak up. So I began working with newer team members in a more formal mentoring role after that. Began working with our sales manager with onboarding and other tasks and helping them. And that's sort of when I transitioned into more of a sales leadership role. And then, which eventually, when opportunities presented themselves, into more of a formal sales management role.
Do you think it's, and this is a kind of a separate question, but I'm curious in your perspective, do you think everybody who is successful in sales has it within them to be a sales leader?
No, and that's exactly it. And that's a trap that a lot of people fall into, is they feel like, I'm good at what I do. I like sales. I'm a good salesperson. Maybe I would make a great sales manager. But again, you need to recognize that you are probably facing customers less. You're probably doing a lot more administration. You are dealing with people's personalities, their good days, their bad days. You're trying to motivate people, trying to coach them. Some people are more open to feedback and coaching than others are. Some people are more eager to progress their career, and they're more driven. So it's trying to balance all of the different priorities and make sure that customers are looked after and make sure you're meeting all your responsibilities to the business. So it can be quite challenging, and it's a different skill set where being an effective sales leader or manager than being an effective salesperson and being customer facing. So, I mean, that's a challenge probably in a lot of businesses, is making sure you keep the team motivated and rewarded in a sense that they're satisfied with the roles that they're doing. And if people express interest, maybe helping them understand, yeah, there's a small component of spending time with reps and giving them coaching on how they're selling, but there's, some different aspects to the job that, are required. And some of that is financial and business acumen. Some of it is those managerial skills, understanding HR, having a broader understanding of the business, being able to work cross-functionally across different departments. So it definitely is a different skill set than someone who just has those really strong commercial skills.
Yeah. There's that saying, don't. A lot of companies, if they promote from within, they sometimes take their best salesperson and turn them into a sales leader. And there's a saying, be careful, because you might create two problems. You might have a poor leader of the sales team, and you just lost your best salesperson when you promoted them. So I think that aligns with exactly what you're saying. So tell us a little bit about your role today, James. And obviously, as a leader, you're focused on more strategic things. You mentioned business acumen as being a key skill. So what's your role today that, and what are you focused on?
Yeah. So fast forward, I guess, from my first sales position, 15 years. And today I'm the vice president of business development with NX Energy Corporation. We are a wholesale fuel and lubricants distribution company with operations across Western Canada. I lead a team of 2 sales managers, 1 marketing manager, and 6 account executives. I generally split my time working on the business and working in the business. So I have a role reporting to our stakeholders and working with our executive team on business strategy and planning. Mm-hmm. But I also work closely with our sales manager, helping them navigate day-to-day initiatives and challenges they face. I try to connect with the broader team at least monthly on pipeline reviews and quarterly for team meetings and stay accessible for them. So I guess I try to balance my time between those two things, my responsibilities in an executive role, but also working closely with the team, sharing my ideas and experience and opinions on different things, and just trying to develop some of our higher performers and work closely with our managers.
Yeah. So based on that, your role today and being in these different areas, what are some of, or what's the biggest challenge that you tend to be up against today?
I would say we are in an incredibly competitive business environment. I suppose a challenge is keeping the team focused and motivated when we aren't winning as many deals as we'd like. We need to recognize small victories and effort in the absence of wins. And I need to continuously work on improving our offer and give my team the tools they need to win. Yeah. We've got a very diverse team, different backgrounds, different skill sets, different experience. I spend a lot of time thinking about my team and trying to direct work to them that is the best fit. Are they the best person to work on something, giving us the highest probability of success? Is this something that they enjoy? If we don't win, will this experience be helpful for them now or in the future? Yeah. So again, I guess just trying to navigate the competitive environment we're in and make sure that we've got the right people in the right spots and we're giving them fulfilling work, we're challenging them, we're spending enough developmental time on our high performers and giving the right support to the team so that they can be successful.
So something you mentioned there about, and I know you do this, you do actually set aside time or use your spare time to think about each team member, where they're at, how to help them progress and grow and learn. And I think that's, it's important as a leader looking at each person as the individual they are. So what are some strategies you could share or a method that you use to help keep your team on track, considering all, you're in a competitive marketplace. There's a lot of noise obviously going on in the marketplace today relative to the economy and politics. So what are some strategies, or what's a strategy you use to help your team stay focused on their goals and keep moving forward?
Yeah. So one of the, I guess, transferable skills from being a successful salesperson to being a successful leader is it really does start with relationships. You need to be able to build strong relationships with the folks on your team. You need to be able to establish trust so that you can have open conversations and dialogue. You need to be able to understand, what are the things that they view their strengths are and that what they view their opportunities for improvement are. And if you get in a good trusting place, then you can have those conversations and you can better understand, what kind of work they will enjoy and want to do. And we don't get to do everything we want to do. I mean, that's why it's work. But if you can generally direct work to people that's suited to their strengths, sometimes that can be, a good, effective way to get the most out of them. Now, what I do is I've tried to improve our reporting and give my team more regular updates with data and information that's useful to them, so they can understand how we're progressing towards our goals. I think we're increasing and improving our communication, so that helps.
Yeah.
I'm also trying to spend more time with my team in the field. When I get opportunities, I'll need to visit our various operations and business locations across our territory or our footprint just for different needs. And I'll always make sure that I add an extra half a day or a day to spend time with folks. Getting one-on-one time, doing that in person can really help understand how they're doing, how are they feeling, what do they need. We can have good open conversations. Often working remotely is a challenge, and we get in a habit of sending too many emails where context gets lost, or maybe the sincerity of what you're doing doesn't necessarily come through. So that I find helps, and then it also allows me to be very clear on the direction I think we need to go and what needs to get done, but also explaining why we need to do it.
Yeah, that's great. So what is something that, if you go back to those years as an individual contributor, as a sales agent or sales rep, and then you had the opportunity to officially move into a sales leader role, although you were practicing some of those skills on your own, obviously because you enjoyed them, you were good at them, you appreciated the benefits and the rewards that provided. But what's something you wish you knew before you became a sales leader that you learned after the fact that just would have been insightful, helpful, or maybe would have held you back a bit from the position?
So I think a big lesson for me was actually a session we did earlier this year with you, Shawn. We started learning about disc profiles and using it to think about how we interact and communicate with our team members. Yeah. As a leader, I feel like it's my responsibility to adapt and adjust my communication style to that person in a way that they're open to hearing and accepting and understanding. Yeah. It's not fair to get upset or frustrated with a team member if it was you who could have done a better job communicating in a way that accommodates them, that's better suited to their styles. So I think that's probably something that took me a little while to learn. Because again, early in your sales management, sales leadership career can get frustrating because you feel like you're explaining things, you feel like you're giving clear direction, but if people aren't doing the right things or the way that you believe we need to do it, maybe it just is your style that needs to change. It's not a fault of them. So I think that's probably a big learning for me, is just trying to adapt and adjust to accommodate my team members in a way, in a style that's suited for them.
Yeah, well, that's great. And you are, if for those watching or listening, if they picked up a theme, you are very, very in tune with your team and very much a focus for yourself, which I think is very important. So here's the last question for you. If you have a crystal ball in front of you and you fast forward, could be a couple of years, could be a decade, your call. What do you think is one of the challenges that will be facing sales teams kind of in the future, considering where we're at today and where we may be heading?
So again, for us, for our business, we're in an extremely competitive environment, and we need to find ways to differentiate ourselves. We need to slow the process down and really focus on relationship building. Yeah. Everybody wants to win. We need to win now, but we're not going to be successful in a bidding war. So we really need to slow our process down. There's so much unknown. What is the world going to look like in 10 years? How will energy transition impact our business? Do we adapt and adjust on the fly? Should we be early adopters of emerging technology? Do we need to diversify our business to include other products and services? Or do we just hone in on what we do and, try to be the last ones standing and sell the last drop of what's available and shut the lights off when we're done? So all of this impacts the team and how they manage their work and their customers day to day. So I think for us, in the short term, in the competitive business we're in, it's slowing down and focusing on the customers and the relationships. And I think, for me in my role, it's just working with the rest of our stakeholders and just understanding, what direction, it makes sense for our business, because we're in a mature business. There's not a lot of new customers or technology or developments that happen in the business we're in, but we've got the basis of a distribution type business of energy products. So I think a lot is going to depend on what does that look like. A lot of that's driven by government and policy, but making sure that we are attuned to that and we're in a position that we can adapt and adjust and pivot.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, listen, James, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. If those watching want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do so?
I think probably best way to connect with me would be through LinkedIn. I think my profile's public enough that it can be searched, and then I'll provide the link, Shawn, and maybe you can post it after. And anybody, please feel free, send me a message. I usually try to get back to everyone in a fairly timely manner, and always interested in connecting with different people. I'll share for me, joining the sessions that you hosted, Shawn. I found those incredibly valuable, and a big insight for me was sales leaders often face similar challenges, regardless of the industry, regardless how big your team is, regardless if you're working for a big organization or, a small privately held business. But in some of those sessions, I asked a few questions on a few challenges. I think, Shawn, you asked us a question, what are some of the challenges we're facing? And I raised one, and it had to do with, recruiting and interviewing and bringing on new salespeople. And there was a couple folks that participated in that roundtable and gave me a few ideas that we have since adopted and we've implemented in our recruiting and interviewing process. And that's been incredibly helpful. So I'd be glad to pay it forward if anyone has any questions or wants to chat or connect, and then also encourage folks to participate in those sessions when we have them again in the future.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And for those watching, so periodically I will run a roundtable where I'll invite sales leaders to come together, and we'll have a virtual roundtable to talk about challenges and what's changing in sales. But the whole goal, as you know, James, with this and that work is and all the work I've had with sales leaders, it's can be a very lonely role. So I'm trying to find different ways to bring sales leaders together to learn from one another and to build a network of peers so that you can reach out to somebody to ask questions of and to share your wins and maybe your challenges with. So I appreciate you saying that, and appreciate again you taking time out of your busy day to join us. And for those of you watching, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to join in the Sales Masters Roundtable and get a chance to get to know James, and look forward to seeing everybody again on the next episode. So thanks very much for joining us, and thanks again, James.
Thank you.